Hey, everybody. It's Tim Gillette with the Tim Gillette Show. And we're back with another episode. Again, we're going to try to make this 100 in 30 days. And, you know what I mean? It's got good and it's got bad. Bad, I'm doing an awful lot of interviews. All right. I'm working an awful lot. The good is I'm getting to meet some cool people. All right. As you know, most of our episodes we've had this week have all been like awesome people. Some of them that I didn't know. I was like fascinated what I learned about them on air. All right. And as you know me, I teach people create content. And if you need to find what content to create, get to know some people on air. What a great way to create content. And I've got an itch in my nose today, so forgive me. But I'm going to go on with the show. As Freddie Mercury would say, the show must go on. Today, I'm going to bring to you Julie Cortes. Now, I really don't know Julie. This is one of those ones that I get to find out all about her while talking to you guys. All right. And I get to introduce her to you while I learn about her myself. This is just one of those pluses to interviewing people. So without further ado, let's bring Julie Cortes on the line. How you doing, Julie?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. I got a nose itch all of a sudden. Like, is that a sign that like you're hanging around with cool people or something?
That's what I'm going for. I thought it was somebody was talking about you, but I like your idea better.
So, Julie, all right, first of all, you look cool. Your website looks cool. So I got to get to know you.
Awesome.
So tell me about you. I mean, you know what I mean? Where do you live? All right. Who do you hang out with? Things like that.
That's a loaded question. So I'm in the Kansas City area, smack dab in the middle of the United States, born and bred here. I am a copywriter by day and freelance rock star by night. What that means is I write advertising and marketing materials for my clients. Yet at the same point in time, I have found myself living, breathing, teaching, speaking, all things freelance. I developed a professional trade organization called the Freelance Exchange. I teach as an adjunct professor. I created my own course called Freelancing 101. And now I'm totally upping my game as a professional speaker and coach and all things freelance.
Cool.
So there you go.
You just playing in all kinds of arenas.
I am. My career path has taken all sorts of twists and turns, and it's not anywhere at all where I expected to be, but I am absolutely loving it. So I'm just along for the ride.
Well, you said you were in Kansas City. So, I mean, are you taking model after the world champion Kansas City Chiefs? I'm just saying.
Well, sure. That sounds like a good idea.
Yeah. My mentor and coach, I don't know if you know Craig Duswald or not, but Craig is a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. And Craig, he teaches Rockstar marketing, and he used to work for Guns N' Roses.
What?
Yeah. He's my mentor. All right.
That's amazing. Put me in touch.
And yet, I have this joke with him that, every time I get mentioned on my show, he's got to pay me, a fee. So we're trying to get his name in as much as possible nowadays.
Go for it.
Rockstar marketing. That's the way you do it. So you're doing copywriting work. All right. It's very interesting because, people come to me for some of the basics on copywriting. Can we go down that path of the people out there who, number one, need to learn the basics to know how to do it. But number two, when they need to up their game, they got to hire someone like you or me. Can we get on that path? Would you mind?
Sure. No, that's fine. It's interesting because sometimes I find clients who are like, oh, I took an English class in high school. I know how to write. And it's like, well, do you? Because, advertising and marketing copywriting is so specific, and there's so much that goes in behind the scenes that I don't think people really understand. The research and the psychology and just knowing about, getting inside your demographic's head. There's a lot to learn. And, just because you took a writing class or an English class in high school doesn't mean you know how to write promotional copy. Mm-hmm. And, you have to, have conversations with people, not at people. Mm-hmm. And it's really intriguing to me. But yeah, so a lot of people try and do it themselves and, love them for doing that. That's great. But more often than not, they end up coming back because they didn't find the results that they were looking for. Mm-hmm. So, it's good to know your strengths and weaknesses. And then if you have weaknesses, like maybe you're not a professional copywriter, like surround yourself with smart people so your business can grow.
No. Now, copywriting, because I think I write good sales copy, and I mean, but my own, I don't think I do good. But I mean, I do it for my clients very well. I get results for them, but I think mine sucks for me. But mine for me, and tell me if this is not true. My wife really she's my editor, and she goes through a lot for grammar. Like my grammar is not proper, but my sales copy gets results. Talk about that grammar versus sales copy. I'm sure you've had it with a client or two.
Well, sure, and I'm a grammar Nazi, as they call it, just as much as the next writer, and I love getting out my red pen and marking things up. But at the end of the day, that's not how we talk. And when it comes to promotional sales copy, you really want to have a conversation. Like I said, you want to be talking with somebody. And that means breaking some basic grammar rules, having one word sentences, or, God forbid, I'm going to start a sentence with the word and or but, they're much punchier and they work a lot better when it comes to promotional copy.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And I love it. I mean, that I have another copywriter who has agreed with that, and I now have it on record.
And you're welcome.
So, let me ask you how you got started into this. Was it something you started to do and you developed over time? Or was this something you went, I want to be a copywriter, and you studied?
Yeah, pretty much the latter. I was one of those kids in school where, I was tearing out magazine ads and putting them on my wall, the really creative stuff. I wasn't, putting pictures of cute boys on my wall. I was putting up really good ads. I was the kid who recorded the Super Bowl just so I could fast forward through football to watch the commercials. I've always loved really creative work. And I thought to myself, there's so much bad advertising out there. Don't we owe it to consumers to entertain them? Mm-hmm. And so I went to school for advertising. I got my degree in journalism with an emphasis in advertising. I knew early on I was a good writer. I got the A's in English and speech and all that kind of stuff. So it just made sense for me to go combine my passions of the love for the creative side of advertising with writing and become an advertising copywriter. So yeah, I've known from an early age this is what I wanted to do.
And it's interesting, mine is kind of developed. So it's like some people, I wonder, some people have that direct line, but now you're talking about like, well, now I'm doing speaking and those are the things that kind of went, okay, I'm going to use that as additional.
Right.
Correct? Okay.
Right. And it's not necessarily to fuel my copywriting business per se. As much as I love writing, there are a lot of other talented writers out there. What I find myself teaching and speaking and preaching about is how to run your own business as a self-employed creative type. And there's not a lot of resources out there. And especially when I started freelancing 20 years ago, there was basically nothing, and I had to forge my own path. And I've learned so many tricks along the way. That's what I love giving back to others. That's where I find my joy and my passion is training things on the things that I wish I would have been trained on up front, and helping them have a smooth ride along their freelance journey.
Oh, and you talk about being freelance. All right. Explain what you mean by helping people be freelance, help in their own freelance world. Explain how you help them.
Well, so something I noticed really early in my career is that I was surrounded by all of these talented creative types, in the advertising marketing world. I'm talking graphic designers and illustrators, photographers, writers, what have you. And we were all good at our craft. We went to school to study our specific craft, but most of us didn't take business classes. And more often than not, it was because either they weren't required or we never thought we would ever need them. And then lo and behold, whether by choice or by default, we end out on our own. And again, we may be really good at our craft, but we don't know how to run a business. Mm-hmm. And that's the missing link here. And it's something that is even especially difficult for creative types because we think with the other side of our brain. Mm-hmm. And so merging those two and educating ourselves is so integral. Mm-hmm. And that's my biggest reason for getting into this is again, teaching people the things we weren't taught in school, how to run a business, how to get set up, best promotional practices, and even, finding your passion and discovering your why and that's how I get in and help others is missing those who are missing out on the key integral things that can really make or break your business.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, would you say, like, artists? I mean, to me, it's one of my favorite things to look at. Artists who are like, they're all creative and everything, but they can't keep food on the table. And it's like,
Right.
you know what I mean? You can turn this into a business. You know that, right? You can actually get paid for this if you're willing to adapt and do it right. And I was wondering if that's where you got down to. I mean, to that and helping that. So, and you've been doing it for 20 years?
Well, I've been on my own for 22 years, yes. And then I created the Freelance Exchange just 5 years into my career. So that's, a good 17 years old. But yeah, I created this course. Like I just said, this stuff wasn't taught in schools. And fortunately, the world-renowned Kansas City Art Institute, located here, loved the idea of me forming a freelancing 101 class and let me get into the classroom to start teaching this. So I've been doing that about 4 years now. And then just in the last year or so, I've opened up the coaching arm and speaking side to my business where I can hopefully, help others, whether it's in a public setting, like speaking, or if it's one-on-one through coaching and training.
Okay, cool. You guys, you got a family, husband, kids, wife, kids. I mean, you gotta ask nowadays.
Yeah, I am married. My husband, almost 15 years here, and we have a dog, and that's the extent of our family. So it works for us.
Yeah. My wife and I have been together 10 years, and our kids are grown from previous marriages, and we have grandpuppies.
Oh yeah, nice.
And we feel that's as close as we're ever going to get the grandkids. Yeah.
Yeah, it happens.
So you know what I mean? With you've lived there, you've grown up in the Kansas City area. Do you go out to other cities and to help, or do you really, really focus on your local area, all right, in your coaching, consulting, and speaking?
Well, of course, Kansas City is home and has my heart. And so, I have a good following here because of, being the founder of the Freelance Exchange. That's really helped, me get into the community. And I go around and I speak at the local universities. And then, of course, the class that I teach every year at the Art Institute. However, I am starting to branch out and go more national. I am very involved with the National Freelance Conference that comes out of Austin, Texas, just right by you down there. And I've met some really great people from that. So they've kind of helped me launch my national game, if you will. And that's kind of the direction I'm looking to go, is to yes, still be involved with Kansas City, but see if I can expand my reach even more nationally.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned there too, all right, that you are a professor and you teach a class. All right. At what institute is it again?
It's the Kansas City Art Institute.
Okay. You know what I mean? How did you get into that? How did that door open for you?
It was so random. I had just finished up speaking at a different university, actually, and I made a comment to the professor, who's an old friend of mine, and I said, hey, it just dawned on me, I'm just barely scratching the surface with this 1 hour presentation of freelancing. There's so much more that the students ought to know. Gosh, I wonder if this university would be interested in creating a course here. And, he said he'd look into it. Of course, I never heard back from him, but one of the students in the class actually followed up with me, and they said, I don't necessarily have a connection here at this university, but would you be interested in this other one? And I was like, sure, especially knowing that the Art Institute, it's an international brand, but the Kansas City franchise, for whatever reason, is world renowned. And I thought, gosh, there are no business classes whatsoever at the Kansas City Art Institute. This would really be a great way for me to get in there and make an impact. And not only are there fine artists that are studying there, studying painting and ceramics and fiber and stuff that I really didn't understand when I first started teaching, but there's also a lot of commercial artists there. There's a couple of writers or a few writers, but it's mostly graphic designers, illustrators, photographers, filmmakers, animators, people whom I work with in my day-to-day copywriting career, but folks who could definitely use the skills or the tools that I'm teaching. Mm-hmm. So it was just kind of by happen chance, and my class has sold out, if you will. There's a waiting list every single year. So apparently it's going over really well. And it would be really cool for me to be able to figure out a way to duplicate this class and have other people teach it in other cities at other schools. So more people can get those same lessons.
And you know what I mean, along that lines, I mean, of duplicating your class, but I never thought about, I mean, you're teaching a business class at an art school. Okay. Yeah. So there's a lot of people. Okay, go ahead on that. Yeah.
Well, I mean, like I said before, creative types, and I'm one of them. We're very different creatures. Like, you want to talk about accounting? Oh my gosh, it's really interesting. But I feel like I found a way to make it fun and make it less scary. If I can get in there and say, okay, guys, yes, you do have to do some accounting things. You do have to do some administrative stuff, and I get it. It's not the most fun thing to do, but here are ways to make it easier for you, whether it's with a particular software program or app, or, hey, why don't you outsource that to somebody who is really good at that, to make your life easier.
Cool. Yeah, because where I was going to go with that, with, you know what I mean? Other people out there, would you encourage them, especially in this time, right, to now start reaching out to universities to maybe go, hey, would you consider offering this as a class? To take what they do in the industry to educate the students along the way.
Yeah, absolutely. I've said for a long time, that freelancers were the way of the future, but all of a sudden it's like, okay, we're here now, the future is now. And even before, this global pandemic happened, we were, in the middle of the gig economy, if you want to call it. And the way the statistics are moving is that as of this year, it was supposed to be, 40% of the U.S. workforce was freelancing in some capacity, part-time or full-time. And I'm not talking just as creative types, but, even Uber and Lyft drivers and hairstylists, anybody who's self-employed working for themselves is part of the gig economy. And that number is projected to skyrocket by the year 2027 to be 50% of the workforce.
Wow.
Now, here's what's interesting is, that's a huge number. So yes, absolutely. I think this should be taught in schools across the nation. However, with this global pandemic, I have a feeling those numbers are going to occur a little bit quicker, sooner than we expected, because, a lot of companies are having to lay off people, and there's kind of this unspoken hiring freeze going on right now. And I think a lot more people are going to be like, okay, I have to make money. What am I going to do? So yes, training right now is so important. Just get on it, guys.
Yeah. Well, with that being said, all right, in this pandemic, all right, you're at home, all right, you've always found ways to make money yourself. I same thing here. What are you doing now, all right, for your clientele, and saying, hey, let me help you get prepared, so when we come out of this, you have the talents to be online, offline.
Right. We all have to pivot our businesses right now. There's a huge shift of course, everything going online and going digital now. This is something that I teach my freelance clients or my students as well. We should be diversifying our income anyway. We should be creating passive income. We should be bundling services or products, creating packages. And also just thinking outside the box and finding new ways to sell what we already know. I find so many people who get this tunnel vision. Okay, I am an illustrator, so all I'm going to do is offer my illustration services for XYZ clients. Okay, that's great, but what else can you do with that? Can you illustrate things and sell them on the internet? Can you teach? Can you speak? Can you write a book about what it is that you do? And the answers to all of that is yes. So now is the time to figure that out and put those practices into place. And I feel like everybody's just going to be much better off when we come out of this, because it's almost been, it's a horrible thing that's happening, and not to downplay that, but to me, it's almost like we've been given a gift of time. And if you change your mindset on all of that, take advantage of this time and work on the things that you ought to be doing anyway, and be prepared for not only now, but in the future.
And along with that thinking is, what are you doing now to go, okay, let me learn some new things too? Are you studying something new right now? Can you tell us what it is?
I'm always trying to learn something new, quite honestly. So, there's a lot of online summits that are coming out or online conferences. And, when I go out and speak, normally I'm in front of a live audience. And, right now I'm being forced to learn how to speak to just my little camera, whether or not there are faces on the screen.
Yeah.
And I don't know if excuse me, I don't know if you've had to do this as well, as a speaker, but that's really new and interesting for me. So, okay, what are new ways that I can engage with people? How can I still bring the energy, even if there's no face on the screen or faces on the screen? What else can I provide for them that will bring value? So, yeah, I'm researching all of that. I myself am participating in a couple of these online summits, whether, attending other presentations or providing my own. And, it's all just a big learning experience, I think, for everybody right now as we go through this shift.
Because like my mentor, all right, he didn't do online. He in-person events. It's where I learned to do in-person events. And he is like all of a sudden having to do stuff online. And like the first 2 weeks of learning, he's on the phone with me about Zoom all the time. Hey, how do I do this? How do I do this? He did a class to his mastermind, the other people I'm in the mastermind with and his program with, about Zoom yesterday. And I'm like, this is a guy who called me for 2 weeks straight. How do you do Zoom? How do you do Zoom? All right. Now he's teaching.
And now he's teaching others.
Well, and he's doing that for a reason, because he's in a marketing business. And he's like, I'm learning this. And he's always done that, by the way. But 8 years I've been with this guy, and he's always done this. He learns something new, but while he's learning it, he goes, guys, I'm learning this. You know what? I'm going to do a class and I'm going to share with you what I know. And if I don't know, we're going to have it on screen and we're going to learn it together. He has always done that. All right. Right now, your students, all right, and your clients may be just as hungry for that. All right. Yeah. You're out there trying to do the same thing. There are people listening to this today, and they're like looking for inspiration about what to do and how to do this. All right. What would you encourage them to do about, learn it, teach it?
Well, there's a lot to be said for being self-taught. And, you kind of have to motivate yourself to go out and get trained. There's a lot of free training going on right now, because I think a lot of companies and organizations are realizing that, people are bootstrapping their businesses, or, they're not getting any money right now because there's not a lot of sales going on right now. So there's a lot of free content out there. And I would encourage everybody to just absorb as much as possible, take advantage of those free or inexpensive offers, and learn as much as you can and figure out how to apply them to your business, or how to give back to your community or to your clients, to help them better their businesses both now and in the future.
So, great advice. We all need to be up in our game. We all need to be learning. But we all need to learn and then teach. All right. I'm sorry. To me, it's a passive thing. That being said, Julie, did you have some mentor in your life that said something that now drives Julie? I told you we were going to get interesting questions on my show. I told you that, right?
I know. And I should have a really good answer. I'm so self-driven. It's hard for me to say that. I will say I met a gal at the freelance conference a few years ago. In fact, I think you might even know her. She's down there just outside Dallas. Her name is Alicia White. And she's a speaking coach.
Yeah.
And I met
Alicia White's first speaking gig was at my event.
What?
Yes.
Oh, I had
first
no idea.
time she ever spoke was at one of my events. Yep.
Oh,
I got her on the stage.
That's fantastic. I love it. See, look at this coming full circle. So I met her at FreeCon, is what we call it, a few years ago, and then I went and I took her course, or sat in on her presentation about how to up your game as a public speaker, because at that time I was just like doing the local university circuit, and I wasn't really putting myself out there. I wasn't getting paid for speaking, and I was like, I wonder if I can make this happen. And she totally inspired me and gave me the confidence to go out and do the things that I need to do. And I bought her book instantly. I have highlighted every single page in the book. And to this day, we still chat every week, if not every other week, and she's just such a great inspiration and such a good wealth of knowledge, and I feel like, at this point, we're kind of accountability buddies for each other. It's not even her coaching me on speaking anymore, because I feel like I help her too when it comes to mindset shifts and writing and those kind of things. So yes, I'm going to say Alicia White. Let's go with that one.
And that's just right there was just a bonus for me.
Yeah, that was amazing.
But on that ideal of mentorship, all right, because I believe mentorship is you learn, you do, you teach, all right, not like I read a book, let me teach you what I read in the book, all right. It's experience that teaches. And I asked that question to a lot of my guests, and last week I had my mentor's son on my broadcast, Zig Ziglar, which Zig was a friend of mine, how I got into this industry. And I was asking him that question. I'm like, well, Tom, I'm going to ask this question, but I'm going to make one exception. You can't say your dad. That was cool to watch Tom Ziglar come out with anyway. But I always find it, and I do mean, Julie, everybody that's on my show, I always find it interesting that it's like, something weird that was said or something interesting or something in their head that they were sitting and thinking about something, and they go, well, I've been saying this to myself for years, and finally I realized that it was time to take action on what I've been telling myself. Yeah. It's always something interesting. All right.
Yeah, and I go back to my why, if you will. Simon Sinek has this whole shtick about your why, and my whole thing was, we weren't taught this stuff in school, and I feel like, early in my freelance career, I was almost a little bitter, not jaded, that why weren't we taught this stuff in school? Why weren't we taught how to run businesses when so many of us, specifically in advertising and marketing, end up freelancing, even if it's part-time on the side. So many of us do that. And why weren't we given those tools to succeed? And so that's what drives me every single day. That's what makes me get up and makes me go and want to teach and coach and speak and do all the things to get that information out there. How can I make sure that the people who need to be trained are getting trained and have those resources at their ready, that are available.
And I love it. All right. It's so cool that you have that in your mindset. But I want to tweak a little bit. And I want to know is some mistakes you made that you went, okay, I know not to do that again. Have you had like this consistent process in your mind of every mistake I go in and write how to fix it?
Well, sure. So, of course, we all make mistakes, and I'll be the first one to admit that. And there's something that I see that happens, quite often with those who are just starting out, and that's not having a contract in place. And I think that's the biggest mistake we all make. And I made it myself, but not having a legal document that your client would sign up front before you engage in any sort of services, because unfortunately, the reality of it is so many freelancers or self-employed individuals, solopreneurs, get taken advantage of just because they are self-employed, because clients feel like they can, and that this self-employed individual is not going to know what standard business practices are or what their legal rights are. So yeah, I got burned early on. There were often times when a client would try not to pay. And it was a struggle. And so I figured out how to be proactive about it. And then also what are best strategies and best practices for what to do if and when that should happen again. Especially in the creative industry, it's such a subjective business. Somebody can love, one piece of your work, and here's another person who absolutely hates it. And it's like, okay, just because you hate it doesn't mean you're right. Maybe I just need to go find the people who love my style instead. So, you try as you might to be proactive. You show prospective clients up front, you show them your portfolio samples. Hopefully they've done their research as well and looked you up and looked at your portfolio samples, maybe reached out to some of your past clients, and so you have these proactive measures in place, and even along the whole creative process, it's keep your client engaged. Okay, here's where I am. Here's my first draft. Here's my second draft. Here's my third draft. And hopefully they are giving you honest feedback so you can make adjustments along the way. But sometimes there are people who are just not good communicators. There are not people who know how to give really good constructive criticism. And at the end of the day, they may actually say to you, well, thanks for doing this, but we're not going to end up using it, so we're not going to pay you. Well, that's your choice, but that's not the way it works. You still pay me for my time and the value and my skills and everything that I put into this project. And, I try and train others in that, I would say it's just like going to a new hair salon or barber to get your hair cut. Maybe you don't like it. Maybe you ask them to make a revision while you're there in their chair. But before you walk out the door, you still pay your bill. You may not come back. You may not refer them, but you still pay your bill before you leave. And it's the same concept. So, it's so important to put those proactive measures in place, do your research, show your work, put the contract in place, have them sign it. Don't be afraid to ask them to sign it. If they don't sign it, that might be very much a red flag to walk away. And then be prepared to, be your own, what's the word I'm looking for? Be your own badass, if you will, and go through the appropriate steps to make sure you get paid in the end, because what they're doing just is not cool, and there's no reason for it. So.
Yeah, I had. Oh, I just got an echo there. I turned it down. I had a hairstyle I used a couple years ago, and basically when I left, his hair looked all right. I get home and I look in the mirror and I look like I have gray streaks, and I'm like, no, I hated it. Right? I didn't call up and cancel the payment. I just went and got it fixed to where I liked it. I just didn't like it, and that's it. Yeah. Well, something interesting in the copywriting thing. All right. I don't, I can fix someone's copy, but I can't create something for you out of the blue. Can you create something for your clients out of the blue, or do you give me something to revise?
I can do it both ways, quite honestly. Okay. I can pull things out of thin air if I need to. This is my running joke. This is why my degree is called a BS in advertising. Because really that's my job sometimes, is to make them look good and sound good. But quite honestly, I prefer when they give me something written up front that I can go in and tweak, because they are the masters of their own domains. They know their businesses inside and out. I don't. I can come in and pretend that I do, and I can research and study, their business and their clients, as much as I can. But at the end of the day, they know everything to a T. So if they give me the copy, it's much easier for me to get inside of my head. Okay, what are our goals? What are we trying to accomplish? What's the correct brand voice that needs to be occurring here in the tone? And then go in, and come up with my witty headlines and my short, punchy copy and results-driven copy, things that are going to, at the end of the day, do what the client wants them to do. So, yeah, I can go either way on that.
Cool. Because I can't. And I actually rewrite a local big speaker. I write all of his sales copy for his emails, but I can't create it out of thin air. He has to give me something to work with. And that's just my creative thing. Now, I do give them a template on how to give me that information, but yeah, I find it interesting, who you have a talent. I don't. You can create out of thin air. I can't. I have to have something to work off of. Anyway.
Well, I'm glad you have that template. I mean, I think a lot of us, have some sort of research process that we go through, or interviewing process to get that information, whether we look at their website or sit down and ask them questions. Or, one of my tricks too is, I ask them to pull out, other promotional pieces that they've done before, if they've done them before, so I can kind of take a look at what they like. And then also have them tell me, okay, who's your competition and what do and don't you like of what they're doing? Mm-hmm. And so that kind of helps frame everything for me to go in and BS my way through it, if you will.
Cool. Well, I mean, Julie, this has been an interesting conversation with you today. There are people who are going to want to get a hold of you. Number one, they realize that you can take and create their sales copy from scratch, whereas they have to give me the. So now they want to talk to you and not me. Anyway, it's okay. But where can they get a hold of you? What's the best place they can find you? And do you have any free offers for them?
Sure. So the best place to find me is on my website at juliecortes.com. Now that is Cortez with an S at the end. A little tricky there. And you can find all things about me, copywriting, speaking, coaching, all that jazz. As well as if you want a freebie on the homepage, I have a special deal for you. You can scroll down and at the very bottom, you can sign up to receive a PDF download of 7 tips to rock your solo business. And these are just quick little things, a checklist that you can use to help motivate you and inspire you to be the best solo business owner you can be. So juliecortes.com. That's where you'll find me.
Cool. Well, Julie, first of all, I thank you for coming on today. It's been a joy getting to know you on camera. But
Thanks for having me.
You do know I have a game that I like to finish my show up with, right?
What are you getting me into?
You look playful enough. Come on.
Yeah, I'll do it. What you got?
So you know what I mean? I watched Sammy Hagar do this on his show, and we know, come on, I'm cooler than Sammy Hagar, right?
I love Sammy. You are speaking my language. Okay.
So wait a minute. Okay, I got to ask, what's your favorite band?
Van Halen, duh.
And you wait a minute, but you like Sammy better than Dave, though.
I do like Sammy better than Dave. I know people are going to kill me for that, but
it's all right.
Van Hagar fan.
Being honest, all right. Being honest and being smart, all right. I love Dave more than I love Sammy. However, truth be known, the band was more successful with Sammy. That's.
I was going to say, and if you see them today, like Sammy kicks Dave's ass. Like, they're both older, so I get it. They're slowing down, but Sammy still rocks and he still sounds amazing. So, yes.
Yeah. So anyway, no, I watched Sammy do this on his show, Rock and Roll Road Trip. And I'm like, I like that. I'm going to put that on my show. So I have about 9 questions here. They're 2 different choices. You just pick one, and some of them we're probably going to elaborate on because there's always a story.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. But I like to start out with to find out who my geeks are. All right, and that is with Star Wars or Star Trek.
Neither.
But I guess I should have changed this one to Sammy or Dave. But anyway.
Yeah. I'd probably go Star Wars, but at the end of the day, neither one really interests me. So yeah, not the geek you're looking for.
These are not the geeks you're looking for.
Not me.
Well, we had more fun with that one, just saying. My next one here is kind of the way we like to learn nowadays. Would you rather listen to a podcast or read a book?
Oh, listen to a podcast for sure.
Yeah, they're getting more and more interesting now than I am. I'm starting to listen to more, and even audio books more than reading books. But yeah. Mm-hmm. How about dessert? Do you want ice cream or watermelon?
Watermelon. I definitely, I'm more of a health nut, than I am about sweets. So watermelon all the way. And if you want to spike it, even better. So.
Oh, that question's further down.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
What's your favorite color, pink or purple?
Oh, man. Now that's pressure. My logo started off as purple. And as I've kind of merged, my copywriting business into, being founder of the Freelance Exchange, which is all hot pink, I now have a gradient as my logo and my hair and everything. I'm going to go with pink and hot pink. It can't be like pastel pink or Barbie pink. It's got to be hot pink, like a bold magenta.
Yeah. So, it's cool. So, but you're into health. So I don't know if this next one's going to apply or if you're going to smack me for it, but I got to ask, taco or hamburger?
Taco. All the way. Love me some tacos.
Yep. Heels or boots?
Both. It depends on the weather, because of course in the winter, fall months, you want to wear those boots that have heels on them. But come summertime, I want to put on my peep toe shoes and my wedges, and yeah.
That's my girl question that I have in there for when the girls are on my show.
Oh, that's good.
Now we get down to the good one: beer or wine?
Wine, all the way. Is it wine 30 yet? I mean,
Yeah.
it's
We've
not even
had
noon. Okay.
now we have a fully stocked bar downstairs. Of course, I have, I keep my 2 up here, but we have a wine rack that is like right over here in my office with about 130 bottles of wine on it.
Nice.
Yeah,
In your office too. That's amazing. Now that's hardcore.
Well, we live in a small condo, and that's the spot where it fit. Yeah.
Got it. I mean, no judgment.
Yeah. So this one here could create wars, but I'm going to ask it, and that is the toilet paper. Does it go over or under?
Over. No question. Over. Under is just lame.
Yeah. Okay. There's stories going back on my podcast. If you watch previous, one lady actually said, "I'm single, and if I date a guy and I have to change the toilet paper from under to over 3 times, I break up with him." It's like this has gotten good with that one.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. So, and my last one is boxers or briefs.
For me?
Well, it could be a choice of what you like to see, but hey, if it's for you, but I'm not judging.
I like a combination of the two. I like those boxer briefs, that kind of look like bike shorts. Those are hot. I like those.
Your husband taking notes as to what he's got to go buy now.
Oh, he's got some. Don't worry.
See, the game's not that hard.
No, that was great. That was fun. Thank you for letting me do that.
You bet. So one more time, Julie, for those who are also on the audio version, make sure they understand how to reach you and your website and know where the free gift is for them.
Sure. JulieCortes.com. That's JulieCortes as in Sam. And the freebie is on the homepage. If you scroll down to the bottom and you put in your email address, it will be on its way to you.
Cool. Well, thank you for being on my show today, by the way. All right.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you, the audience, for tuning in today. All right. And getting to meet Julie. Please go check out her website at juliecortes.com. All right. Take advantage of the free gifts she's offering today and get to know her more like I did. All right, guys, we'll be back with another episode real soon of the Tim Gillette Show. And please go ahead, subscribe to us. We're on podcast of Apple Podcast, Anchor FM, YouTube. Go check us out. Subscribe so you can catch the next one live. I'm Tim Gillette. I will see you next time. Bye now.